been a long time. We're back inside Portstewart, and we left it for a while because things were happening, things have been happening, and I didn't feel that I could sort of tell the story as it was happening, because things happened that are maybe negative and it impacts on maybe things on the pitch and things off the pitch. Could get us in trouble, some of the things that I would have said at the time through emotions. So I had to leave it to the end of the season. And it so happens that at the end of the season, we've guaranteed their safety in the NIFL Player Fit Premier Intermediate League, which is massive for the club going forward. And this past year was a year where we were trying to steady the ship. The club was in a bad place. It had heavy debts. It had a court case looming over it. We lost a reserve team. The club was in a state of, it's just everything about the place was bad. From like the nets on the pitch, there was holes all over them. There wasn't even money to go and buy new netting. The place needed a good sort of lick of paint. Throughout the season, there's been loads of things that have happened that have just cost money that you just don't expect, and hopefully I can cover that in this last episode. But before we talk about the club and the background and everything going on, we'll take a wee quick run through the rest of the season from when we left off. And we left off at a defeat in the Irish Cup to Ballymoney United, and that was way back October time, and we're in April. So we'll go quickly through the rest of the season, the ups and downs, things that have happened, and then we'll talk about the other stuff that's happening around the place. Okay, first of all, we'll go through our league results throughout the season. When we left off, the next game was an away trip to Queen's University in Belfast, and that was a 2-0 defeat. We go into December, and we started the month off after a big gap. We went up to the PSNI, who are sitting bottom of the league, and they play up at Queen's Ground, and it was just an absolutely devastating defeat where we were beat 3-1. Performance was terrible, conditions were terrible, the lead up to the game was terrible. It just was one of them days where it just wasn't to be. And then we had a home game to Lisburn Distillery, which was a 1-1 draw, which is good because it stopped the rot. And then we headed off to Dollingston with a 3-2 defeat, which also signified the sort of a stop in a Portstewart career of one of the players. Again, we'll talk about that. And then we finished off the year with a 2-1 victory to Banbridge, which was brilliant because they needed the win. It was almost 2 months without a win. We started off January and we got our own back in the PSNI as we beat them 3-1. We then travelled to Coke, lost 3-0. We lost at home to Mayola 2-0, and we finished off the month with a 2-1 victory over Dollingstown. So, a mixed bag of results. Moving into February. February, we started off with an away trip to Armagh with a 2-1 defeat. Then, against all odds, we travelled to Banbridge and beat them 3-1. Crazy league. Before Rathfriland came to Portstewart and beat us 2-1, and then title chasing Limavady came down, and we held them to a 1-1 draw. And it was a 1-1 draw with controversy, as they maybe could have had a couple of penalties and they didn't have them, and we held out. So into March, we headed to Ballymacash with a severely weakened team. It was that week that I was on the bench, and I'm like 40. I was 42 then, I'm 43 now. We were tanked 4-1, and then we got beat 2-1 at home to Tobermore. So we finished off March with back-to-back games against Warrenpoint. Warrenpoint were flying, and we were supposed to play them back in November. Again, we'll talk about that there after we go through the results. But anyway, we headed down to Warrenpoint. We drew 1-1 with them. And then they came up here and we beat them 2-0. which more or less guaranteed our safety in the league. Which I say is massive, because this is what it's all about. If we're in this league, we can grow. If we're not in this league, you know, where do we go from here? And then we're finishing off the season. We headed up to the showgrounds to play Moyola in the return fixture. We beat 1-0 again. The referees decided the game. And this is the sort of thing that I haven't been able to talk about at the time, because the club can be brought up in charges if you're going on social media and slagging off the referee. It's hard. It's hard to sort of decide when to open your mouth and when not to. Where else? We then headed to Raff Island. 6-0 defeat, absolutely soul-destroying performance. And then we headed to Lisburn Distillery, and another defeat. So, November time, there was a bit of frost. But before there was a bit of frost, we had pulled together a day. We were playing Warren Point down here. We pulled together sort of different people from all across to come and join us, and we wanted to, you know, host them and welcome them. We invited Jared Lawler from NIFL. He's the top of the tree up in NIFL, the chief executive officer, or something, I don't know what it is. And he was to come down. We'd invited PlayerFit, the league sponsors, down. We'd invited Steve Lomas down. And we'd put on a banquet, you know, all sorts of food. We pushed a boat out for this here. It was a big game. We expected a big crowd. Warren Point were flying at the time. I think they were top of the league or second in the league. And the morning of the game, it was frosty. And one of the committee members, and I'm not slagging anyone off, I'm just saying it as it is, one of the committee members came down and the pitch had a layer of frost on it. And he contacted our secretary and says, we need a pitch inspection. And somebody contacted me, and I came down and I said, oh, what have you done? We don't need a pitch inspection. You only call a pitch inspection if you don't want the game played. And we did want the game played. It was a big day for us. We'd spent money left, right and centre, you know, on food and all sorts. Anyway, I came down, and the next bit of footage will show you what the crack was then. Just anyone who wants a wee update on the game, or the game being called off down at Mullica Call today. This is the current state play. So the actual surface in the main pitch is grand. It's not frozen. There's two areas of the pitch that are frozen, and the referee, or the IFA fellas, came down and he's inspected it, and he's called the match off for the goal mouse. So I'll be transparent here about why the game's called off. You can see this square in the goal mouth here. It's a different turf than the rest of the pitch. It's like a harder wearing turf, and it's hard. Okay, it's just about taking a stud, and it's the same up in the top end. So the rest of the surface, and we brushed this here out just to have a look at it. The rest of the surface is spot on. Thawed. There we go, thawed. Brilliant. Injuries is something we've had to contend with. We've only a small panel of players. We don't have a reserve team this year. We were without a manager, and without a manager you don't really have a team. So we had to pull the plug on it last season. So we only had a squad of maybe 17, 18 players, and the last thing we need is an injury. And we went to play Moyola, and the game was only about 18 minutes gone, and this happened. again, this is the first time this here footage has been shown. I kept it away because of what it was at the time, and again, that's what I was saying, I couldn't really do updates on this here at the time because it just didn't feel right. Ryan Dock get injured in this game. We thought it was a broken ankle, and I had to go to hospital, and the game was abandoned. A game against Mayola, which a game, you know, it's a derby match. There was a big crowd here, but you can see that happened, and another injury happened this season as well, which was nasty enough. Taylor McBride with a boot to the face, as seen in this footage. I think is DK has provided this. It's horrendous. And we had other injuries. Luke Bradley hurt himself. I can't even remember what the injury was. It was like an Achilles injury or a knee injury. I can't remember what it was. But he was out for a period of time. And whenever you've got such a small squad of players, these injuries are just, they derail your season. Players coming and going is another massive thing. Throughout the season, the playing squad has by and largely remained the same, but there's been players that have left the club who were playing. Paul Smith left the club and went to Mayola. Connor Henry, the goalkeeper, he just, I don't want to go into the ins and outs of it, but he stopped playing in January, and we brought in another keeper, Glenn McMullen from Glebe Rangers. Our reserve keeper signed for Mayola, our backup keeper, Rhys Oliver, signed for Mayola, and we brought in Billy McDowell, who had been at Ballyclare. So things happened. We needed a striker, and we approached Ards to sign James McLaughlin. Now, James McLaughlin was on a pro contract. None of our players are pro contracts, are not paid. All we do is give expenses for travel. Ards did not give us permission to talk to James. So with that not happening, we went out and we brought in Tony Tumulty, who was at Ballymacash Rangers. And Tony came in and he made a difference straight away. He scored goals to help us defeat the PSNI. So at the time it seemed like a decent signing. James McLaughlin eventually was released by Ards and went to Mayola. And recently there, about 4 weeks ago, we lost Mickey Smith. I'm not 100% sure about the goings on, but Mickey left, and it left us really short players, so much so that I've been in the squad. I'm 42 stroke 43-year-old man, 43 today, birthday, and I'm there. And that's another reason why the videos haven't been happening, because I've been involved in the other side of it, trying to sort of help out as much as I can. And I know I'm old and that there, but I can still put myself about. But there you go. Now off the pitch, oh my god, off the pitch, where do we start? Off the pitch, been really, really bad weather. And the really bad weather blew down our fences, smashed them down, bust sponsor boards, ripped the posts out, and there's footage here, hopefully in the background, of photos of the state of this place. And this is all happening with no money, and you know, you're waking up, you're getting photos sent through ones in our WhatsApp group, and you know, people don't see what goes on in the background. It's just, oh my god. But you can see, you know, the place is a mess here. But we've got a man in the committee, and he is he's financing things to improve at this club. There's no other way of saying it. He's investing in the club, and he's paid for this brand new fencing to be put up. And it changes things. It makes the place, well, it will once everything's tidied up around it, makes the place look tidier. You know, in the clubhouse, we've got this new suspended ceiling, and it's basically was going to cut down the heating bill because the room was a big open high roof room, and it was tired looking. The place has been painted, it's got this low roof, and only in the last 3 or 4 weeks we've got these here long sets of chairs put in, and the whole place is just coming together inside the club. It's massive for us. You know, we've got our new fencing, we've got the inside of the club, and then we've got the massive project. This project is absolutely massive. Over the last 4 weeks, we have been redding out the back area, and I showed you the back area in the previous video. It was a mess, and now it's all been dug up. A large part of it's been levelled. All the trees and branches and everything have been ripped out. It's now March, and the last time I showed you the background there and I talked about it was way back in October. And finally, through help of one of the committee members who's putting his money where his mouth is, to be quite honest with you, we've started doing a project, and it's the biggest project we will do in the year. We're going to level the back bit, we're going to get it seated, we're going to get a surface down there, a training surface, which can be used for youth, it can be used for just local kids possibly, it can be used for training, and as you can see in the background there, he's digging up the gorse bushes. The land behind me is actually flat. We've cut it back, we had a machine, we cut it back, we had a look at it. He's going to take the whole top layer of the surface off. The drainage shouldn't be too bad up here. Anyway, it is going to get seeded, and hopefully in 2 months time there'll be a lovely grass surface there, and it's a massive deal. It's so big that people don't understand it. We've put in for grants and all sorts of stuff, and at this moment in time we don't have any. And say committee member has went, you know what, I'm going to put money into this here, because if we keep waiting for grants, we might never see it, and that's where we're at. But we'll keep tracking the progress of it, and we'll see how we get on. We're in for a grant now from the council to try and get the money to finish this job. And if we don't get the money from the council, I don't know where we go. It's massive for us, it's so big. We get a training area up there, we get floodlights up there, we can bring training down to here. Training costs a fortune. We've got academy teams who are, the money for training facilities is 4-figure sums. It's just mental. And you've got other clubs who have their 3G and 4G or whatever they want to call it, and all their training teams are playing on it. They charge their academy teams, so then the actual first team, senior club, get money from the academy for rental, and the money is mental. And we need this to survive at this level and to progress. But it's a big project, and we just hope that the grant can come through. It's £15,000. £15,000 doesn't get you far, but it'll get us far enough to get the ball rolling. So that is sort of how the season's panned out at Portstewart. There's other wee things that I've sort of missed out and left out throughout there. We got to the final of the Craig Memorial Cup. We were defeated 3-0 by Limavady. There's actually a vlog on my channel of the final. There's been a few other comings and goings with players. But I mean, that has been the sort of gist of the season. I've shown you it through my eyes as much as I can, and there's more to come from Portstewart. How do you put this here? See, that's what you can't. whenever I was independent and nothing to do with Portstewart, I could come out and say whatever I wanted about Portstewart or Korean or anything. And then once you're in and you're representing the club, you have to be careful. You can't be, slabbering. It's probably the best thing that's happened me from that perspective. But I'll keep you updated on, how things are going off the pitch and all. I'll probably do it through the Portstewart social media channels, rather than my own. This wee project didn't go the way it was supposed to because it just got too awkward. When a team's losing, you can't be doing videos on them very often. When you're part of the club, it doesn't create a good atmosphere. Again, look, it is what it is. I think that's it from inside Portstewart. We go again next year. I will be staying with Portstewart doing stuff because I'm obsessed with football. And being in the middle of football is just what it's all about for me. Anybody out there who enjoys football and maybe can't play anymore but wants to still be involved, do go to your local club, whether it be Portstewart or Korean or Limavady, Dollingstown, wherever it is, Tobermore. Go to their club and lend a hand. Say to them, what can I do to help? It might be social media stuff. There's so many clubs whose social media in Irish League is pish. You might be into gardening. You might want to cut the grass. You might want to put flower beds in. There's social clubs. You might want to work in the bar. You might want to be a kit person. There's so many. We might want to be the guy who brings bottles of water on. There's so many positions at these football clubs that you can do, and Portstewart's one of them. If anybody wants to get involved in Portstewart, come on down, be a volunteer, and give me a shout or give one of the committee a shout, and we'll take you in and we'll help you, and it helps develop you. That's the end of Inside Portstewart. Big things next season. I can't say any more. I'm really excited for a couple of announcements coming up, and it's going to be good. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this here. Ciao.